So I saw a film. It's called Maddie's Secret. You may have heard of it. Pretty new. And I've been trying to see more films, and this was a film. So I was like, let me see that. And let me tell you what I thought about it. I actually had really mixed feelings about it. I haven't been this sort of mixed on a film in a while. At first I was like loving it. It had a great satirical vibe. It was like kind of like hyper modern in a way where it was like it felt very like, like self-aware. There were like very subtle jokes just in like facial expressions and, just from the opening scene of her kind of running around. Obviously, spoiler alert, don't listen to this if you don't want spoilers. And and then she goes into work. It's like hyper much. She's working for an influencer, so it's very like 2026. Maybe it came out last year or something, but it's very current, which was great. Connor O'Malley is in it. I'm like, oh my god, anything Connor O'Malley is in, like, sign me up. Like, and he's like classic, like perfect character, like perfect for him. Maybe not such a perfect person, the character himself, but perfect for Connor. So, I was like, oh, this is so good. Like, it's already so funny. Like, a lot of laughs, a lot of like interesting dynamics. And then it starts to deal with like more serious stuff. I mean, like, I wouldn't say it's from the very beginning, but pretty quickly, it starts trigger warning. I'm going to talk about eating disorders. Very quickly, it starts to become obvious that the main character, Maddie, has an eating disorder. And she works as a chef and as an assistant to an influencer chef, and she's an amazing chef. So she's kind of, as they mention in the film, the word sublimated. She's kind of sublimated her eating disorder, which she is in recovery from. I think for years she's in recovery from her eating disorder. She sort of sublimated it into a passion for food, which I think is totally possible, not inherently bad. A lot of people can do things like, find a way to like transform a struggle they had into a strength and a skill. And she's in this relationship with this guy. I guess they're married, or I think they're married, and they, very close. They live together and stuff. And they have a very loving relationship, but she kind of has her walls up a bit. The interesting thing about her character from the very beginning is she is like, sort of like a happy-go-lucky person, but in like a little bit of like a fake way. Or it's not fake, like she's not pretending, but it feels artificial. Something about her like always looking on the bright side, like being too like sweet and like saccharine, and like always like thinking the best about people, and like refusing to think anything negative about people. It's at stark contrast with most of the other characters in the film. Her husband is a very nice guy, but he's like more like normal. She's like living in the clouds, kind of like a little bit. I don't know. That's not the best description, but that's like the biggest thing about her character is like this ultra positive person who like refuses to see kind of the negatives about things, and that's a great character. And so from the very beginning, I was like, okay, this is going to be what the film's about. We're going to see this like shield kind of break down, and we're going to see her authentic person come through. I don't know how that's going to happen, but like we're going to see her kind of reach a breaking point where she's like, like I can't pretend anymore, or like I just have to like, fine, I'm allowed to get mad, I'm allowed to be this and that. And it comes in that she has conflicts with her mom, because when she tells her mom about a promotion she has, her mom's not excited about her, and her mom's clearly very selfish. And so it's like, okay, clearly, Maddie is going to ultimately like kind of like conquer her issue with her mom. She's going to just like be, she's going to be able to kind of like take pride in what she's accomplished without her mom, giving her validation or anything like that. And she's going to, be able to just like let loose a little in various ways. So that's what I was kind of thinking would happen. And in some ways it did happen, but the overall conflict or like tension of the film is not just that she has an eating disorder, that ends up coming back and being, she has a relapse essentially. Not essentially, she does have a relapse. And it's in the context of her getting this promotion at work, which then makes her famous. And so there's added pressure on her. She's an influencer now. She's a chef, not just an assistant. And then she gets the opportunity to be involved with a major show, which I believe they call The Boar, which is a parody of The Bear, I guess. And so she's going to be the culinary consultant on it if she can, impress these two people. And so the whole thing is like she's pressured about how she's going to do that. Now, as I say that is kind of, there's something weak about that premise. Like there's something like not enough about that. And maybe that's what they were thinking, but the power of the film really comes from her eating disorder. I mean, like the film very like realistically portrays her eating disorder. Keep in mind, it's a comedy. So I mean, I don't know. You could say it's a comedy drama, but it's a comedy. Like, I don't know. Everyone in the theater was laughing where I saw it. And like people are laughing throughout this film. It's made by, I believe his name's like John Early. He's a comedian. And, there's all these comedians involved. Her best friend is the woman with the Garfield house from I Think You Should Leave. There's another I Think You Should Leave actor. They're like, it's comedians. It's all like, it's all comedians. It's a comedy. So her eating disorder, it's sort of a question of like, how are they going to cover her eating disorder in a way that's like respectful, while making this a comedic film? And that's a real challenge. What I like about it is they very accurately portray the eating disorder, both the triggers of it, the pressures of it, the way she keeps it secret, the whole experience of her eating disorder. It's very portrayed very accurately. I've known, several people with eating disorders, and I understand addiction well, which is very similar to eating disorders in a variety of ways. The patterns of it, it's something that I've seen in my work and in my personal life. Like I know, they were accurately portraying a lot of aspects of this. What causes her to feel triggered, and like how she hides it, and everything about this process, how it comes up in her life. The darkness of it. And they're not playing all of it for laughs. They let things go to a dark place in very serious ways. So she ends up having such a bad relapse that she actually has to get treatment for her eating disorder. And it's like this whole change in the plot of the film, because she goes to inpatient treatment, and now she's in inpatient treatment. And then the whole struggle is like, is she going to stay in treatment? Is she going to leave? And I think they like play that well in a variety of ways, because you see her making unhealthy decisions for herself while also trying to make healthy decisions too. So she's really torn between two sides, and she is ultimately like made to face consequences for her unhealthy decisions of like leaving treatment early and so on. And you see all these characters she meets in treatment. Again, spoiler alert, her roommate in treatment dies. Her roommate in treatment dies. Just to make it clear, like within this comedy, how much serious stuff happens. Her roommate, who's like an even more saccharine person, even more, and quite delulu, has like a crush on a seemingly gay man who's a nurse or whatever, and like that's her whole character, and she's like obsessed with K-pop, and she's just like very saccharine or whatever. She dies in this comedy film. And that's okay. I mean, people are allowed to die in a comedy film. But like that, that's not played for laughs. That's played for Maddie feeling really bad that she had left under such circumstances that she kind of influenced her roommate to make bad decisions when Maddie herself made bad decisions. So that's Maddie like actually having to face, and it's not played for laughs. Like, and I'm emphasizing what's played for laughs and what's not, because it gets kind of confusing. Because soon enough, we have a family therapy session where her mom comes in, and it's like the emotional climax of the film, really. It's the emotional climax of the film, her mom coming into the therapy with her psychiatrist, and like Maddie's finally facing her issues with her mom. And we learn how bad Maddie's childhood really was. Now, I don't think that was a good choice of the film to have the details of how bad her childhood was with her mom only come out in the family therapy, because it's a little less powerful to be getting such new information in that family therapy appointment. The power would come from if we already knew just how much. It was stuff like, I forget, it was like her mom, like, taking her to bars and like when Maddie was a child and like letting men be creepy to Maddie, stuff like having like the eating disorder stuff going even like in way more depth of like the mom literally teaching her how to purge, and like maybe some of that stuff, it was okay for it to come out in that like almost at the end emotional climax scene. I don't think there was too much new information, and so it was like it takes away, because the power of the scene should be that the mom's there to face the information and Maddie's facing the information we already know. When you're adding a ton of new information, it sort of takes away from the power of that scene, because then it's like the power is just from the new information. Wow, her mom was really bad, rather than actually seeing Maddie stand up about what we already know. So I haven't even gotten to the real problem, actually, but like the eating disorder stuff was confusing emotionally, because I'm not going to say it doesn't belong in a comedy, but they played the eating disorder stuff way too realistically for it to belong in a comedy. And I was thinking as I was watching this, I knew it was written and directed by John Early, a male comedian. And I was thinking, like, I hope they consulted with women, right? Obviously, men have eating disorders too. But the main character is a woman, and like having an eating disorder as a woman has some different dynamics in various cultures like ours. I'm sure they had some women consult on this, and especially because it was so accurate to what I think a lot of women with eating disorders have experienced and do experience. It genuinely, like, I was like, wow, I'm impressed by how accurate and how like informed this is about the eating disorder and like the addictive mindset of an eating disorder, and the secrecy of it and everything about it. I was like, this is really accurate. A little maybe too accurate to then have jokes so closely intertwined that in the theater I was in, people were laughing during the family therapy session with the mom, like cracking up throughout the whole thing, because it was played as absurd, because the whole film was played as absurd. From the beginning of her jogging, everything had this satirical tinge to it. Everything had this satirical, absurd coloring to it, like an I Think You Should Leave sketch. But she was binging and purging and almost died, and then her roommate died. And then as she's facing issues with her abusive mother, people are laughing because it's absurd. It's played as absurd. I wasn't laughing during that scene because I was watching the family therapy scene and thinking, this is exactly how difficult family therapy sessions can go with an extremely neglectful or abusive parent. The mom was, whoever the actor was, she was playing very realistically a mom who feels forced to come into family therapy and is like performing for the psychiatrist and stuff. It was extremely realistic. So you're allowed to laugh. If stuff makes you laugh, laugh. It's involuntary. I just wasn't laughing in that scene, and a lot of other people were, because I don't think they felt the reality of the therapy in the same way I did being a therapist. But like, that's okay. Everyone feels it different. But I'm going to go out on a limb and guess some women with eating disorders probably didn't laugh as hard as women without or men without eating disorders watching this film. Now let me get to the real problem. And you might already know this and be like, why didn't he mention this yet? Well, I didn't realize when I was watching the film. I knew it was written and directed by a man, John Early. I've heard John Early's name. I've heard him referenced. The comedians I like him and respect him. So I knew that he was a well-respected comedian. I was very happy that I was watching a film written and directed by a well-respected comedian. as it got into stuff related to eating disorders, I was thinking, I assume he consulted with women. I assume there are many women consulted on the movie. I was watching and wondering, like, I was also thinking, and this is like rude. Well, how do I say this? Like, this is rude, but like, we have thoughts. Like, it's okay to have thoughts. I was watching and I was like, oh, is the protagonist a trans woman? Like, yeah, I know that's a rude question to ask, but I'm just being honest. Like, it occurred to me. I was like, oh, I wonder if she's a trans woman. And that's really cool that they're just not even mentioning it. Like, that's a really cool thing about the film that they just, like, I love that. I mean, I love for, like, people who have marginalized identities to be characters in films without the whole thing being about their marginalized identity. I think that's really healthy. I think that's a really good thing in our culture as we move forward. People don't have to be caricatures. You could have a Jewish character that it's just kind of incidental that he's Jewish. A trans character, it's just kind of incidental that she's trans. A gay character, anything, obviously, for any identity. Because characters are much deeper and more interesting than one superficial aspect. Well, not superficial, but one aspect of their identity. So the film ends, and I'm informed that the protagonist was played by John Early. So the protagonist of the film, who is never referred to as anything but a woman, is played by the writer-director man in drag, I guess. I mean, I don't know if drag really even gets it across, but yeah, in drag, like... And, drag is fine. Like, people can do drag. It's a fun thing a lot of people enjoy. What is the function in this film of the main character being a man in drag? Now, putting aside that it's the writer-director, because that definitely adds something to it. Putting that aside, she's a man in drag. Like she's played by a man in drag. Now, why? Like, is that supposed to be funny? Are they expecting us to find it funny that she's played by a man? Is that supposed to, like, are we not supposed to notice? If they didn't want us to notice, then why would they cast a man as the protagonist to play a woman? So they obviously wanted us to notice, because if they didn't want us to notice, they would just cast a woman. Like you would just, but you want people to be watching. I don't know if they think John Early is so famous, everyone knows what he looks like. Like, obviously a lot of people know what he looks like. Like, I don't know why he's the best person to play that role. I'm sure he's a really funny guy. But, like, to me, the question is not like, oh, are you allowed to have a man playing a woman? Like, obviously, that's not the question. The question is, what's the function in the film for this woman to be played by a man, for the main character woman? Why didn't we have other women in the film played by men, I guess, is a fair question. Why didn't we have men played by women? Why is the character who's struggling with a potentially deadly disorder being played by another gender? Is that, or are we supposed to, like, it's kind of a mindfuck a little bit. Like, I was genuinely like, what? So it's not even like she's trans, like, in the film. I don't think so. I mean, if, like, it would be fine if she was. Like I said, I was hoping that the film was just like, oh, it's a trans woman or whatever. It's like a woman who just has, like, slightly more masculine features in various ways. Like, great. Like, who cares if it's a cis woman with slightly more masculine features in one way or another, or it's a trans woman who they never comment on? Great. I don't care. That's perfectly great. I would have thought it was really cool if the character was a trans woman and they just didn't mention it. And obviously it's fine to have her be a cis woman too. But to have her be a cis woman, or I guess a trans woman, like, the character's not trans. Like, you can't just be like, oh, the character's trans because it's played by a male actor. Like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. That's not how characterization works. So the character's cis, I guess, but played by the writer-director man, who I guess needed to be in the film. There was no one else who could have played this role. So not only does you end up leaving feeling like they're making fun of eating disorders, but you end up leaving being like, are they making fun of trans people? Like, is this not transphobic? Like, is this not transphobic? To have a guy playing a woman for no reason but to, like, make it funny? Is that supposed to be funny? Like, I just don't see the value in John Early playing the protagonist besides making fun of women. It just seems like you're making fun of women by being like, it's funny that I'm dressed up as a woman. Because what other purpose is there for John Early to be playing that character? I'm not trying to be the woke police. I'm just telling you, like, it does not make sense in the film at all. It's bizarre. The film is a very serious depiction of eating disorders, y'all. Her fucking roommate dies. Like, she almost dies twice. Her roommate dies. A woman dies in the film. People mourn this woman, and that woman's family presumably mourns her. A very sad thing. We hear about abuse. We hear about neglect. We see binging and purging. We see addiction. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't play eating disorders for laughs in the way that they do in this film. It's completely wrong. It's like emotionally does not work for a film. You can reference eating disorders in a comedy. You can reference them a lot. You just can't, like, play it this seriously with extended scenes that are very serious and then expect it to be funny. And expect people to not think you're making fun of eating disorders. So, and how many trans people were consulted on the decision to have a man in drag as a woman for absolutely no purpose, but comedically, I guess. It's funny to... Like, why couldn't the protagonist just be played by a woman? Because she might have, like, known that some of this tonal stuff would not work in the film. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I've never seen a film that was like, it's been a while since I was this disappointed, where I was watching a film and I was like, this is great. This is great. So many good things about this. And then I'm like, what the hell is going on with this film? And then I didn't even know until I left that was the protagonist played by a man. So really funny, John. Really funny to have yourself play the woman in this film about a woman having eating disorder. What function does it serve but just giving John Early screen time in his film? Obviously, other women could play that role. It's not that hard. Like, there's a lot of talented actors out there. So what purpose does it serve to have Maddie look like John Early? Tell me that. What purpose could it possibly serve but creating even more of an air of jokey satire around a film where a woman almost dies and another woman dies dead. Like, fully dead. But you're not supposed to think about it? Like, obviously people can die in comedies, but, like, another person dying from something the main character is struggling with. And then, okay, before I get out of here with talking about this film, other issues are, like, the relationship between her and her husband, like, does not really wrap up. Like, the pacing of the film is not right. Certain parts are too fast and certain parts are too slow. So it ends up feeling really rushed at the end. There's this whole thing where Maddie lied to her husband about being pregnant to explain her purging, which is a great plot point. But then we never see them resolve it. And then I, like, thought they already did, but then he's cleaning up the crib. And then she's like, she notices he's cleaning up the crib and she's somehow, like, surprised. Like, as if she, like, Like, why is she surprised? Like, obviously he would be cleaning up the crib by that point, and like then they don't even talk about it. And so he says, like, there's this line where this is like the last thing they say to each other in the film. He's like, she's back from rehab or inpatient treatment, and he's like, how am I going to be able to trust you again? And I thought she was going to say, you're not going to be able to, but, I hope that with time you can, or something like that. And they don't have to take my advice on the language, but I thought there was going to be a moment of like her acknowledging how she hurt her husband. Because just because she's struggling with an eating disorder does not mean she cannot hurt. She hurt her husband really bad. And it's a really good, truthful depiction of how someone deep in a mental health disorder can hurt people around them, and how there are consequences outside of how we hurt ourselves when we're not taking care of ourselves. So it really, again, a very serious subject. It was really a good opportunity for her as a character to show growth by even understanding how she had impacted her husband, who had been supportive to her throughout the whole film, and she had just lied to him. And it was a really interesting point, because her like saccharine positivity was also a wall and a shield that was blocking her from intimacy with her husband, and also blocking her from treatment and taking care of herself. Like, it was a really powerful thing that could have been carried out really well in a film that wasn't like dedicated to making everything a joke. But But instead of responding about how is he going to trust her again, she just leaves. Like, she runs away. She literally, they pan back and she's gone. Because, like, I forget, she goes running again or something. That's how the film ends. Maybe she doesn't go running. I don't know. But she's gone. I forget why. And it's like, okay. So the film is saying in that moment, like, it doesn't even matter whether she resolves the conflict with her husband. Like, why? That was a central part of the film. Like, why should I not care how the husband feels? Why should I not care about their ability to come together? Did this, like, John Early get, like, is there something wrong with his understanding of human behavior and relationships? Like, what's going on with him? Like, why does he not realize the viewers would care about some sense of resolution? There's more resolution between Maddie and this, like, really mean coworker who comes and brings her cookies or something and apologizes, and they have a resolution. But we don't see a resolution between her and her fucking husband. Like, what? It's bizarre. It's really, like, the whole film is very confused. I would not recommend this film to anyone. I would not recommend this film. I think you'd be better off watching grass grow or paint dry. The laughs in the film are not worth it, and it's ultimately a completely emotionally confused, disjointed, poorly paced, and poorly judged film. So a lot of really poor creative decisions made. No idea why. I tried to look up if other people are talking about whether this film is transphobic, because I'm not here to be like the transphobia police, but I'm like, why? Why did you put yourself in the protagonist's role? Like, why? Why is that funny? Why is that funny for you to be in drag? Why is that funny? Is there something funny about you being in drag, John? Like, I'm sorry, like what? So anyways. Yeah. So I hope to see other films with Connor O'Malley and the Garfield lady from I Think You Should Leave and other people. Because a lot of talented people were involved in this project. And a lot of like really, it could have been so good. Oh yeah, one more thing. One more thing. This is bizarre, okay? I almost forgot. So I'm a big art guy. I like art. I'm a big art guy. They have a painting in their house, Maddie and her husband, that immediately caught my eye because it's by one of my favorite artists, Max Ernst. And it is... It's just kind of bizarre that they happen to have it in their house. They have this painting. This painting is on their wall in their house. I wish I had the shot from the film, but this is the painting on their wall, and I immediately recognize it because it's a famous painting from 1926 from Max Ernst. So this is like early in his career. I believe before he was doing the like frottage, grottage techniques that were so famous, and you can clearly see his sort of more academic training. There's inspiration from De Chirico, Picasso a bit, but it is an apt painting for the film because it's a mother spanking her child, and so it kind of like it kind of connects with the idea of like, Maddie's problems with her mother. So really it's great in that sense. It is like sort of like, okay, wait, which is it, Maddie or her husband that's into Max Ernst? I'm not trying to overthink it, but it's like Max Ernst is like a pretty out there artist. Like, he's famous, people know him, but it's not like Salvador Dali or something where you could just like randomly pick up one of his posters. Obviously they have a print. Max Ernst is not like levels of famous where you could just like randomly stumble across his paintings. So even though it works on a thematic level for them to have this in their house, it's confusing from a characterization level. Like, Maddie is not into Max Ernst, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Maddie is not into Max Ernst. Like, it conflicts entirely with her character. So she is very like, I shouldn't say this because anyone could be into any artist, but like Max Ernst has like a darkness and a brooding to him that is the shadow side of Maddie, but it's certainly not Maddie. Like, it's not how we see Maddie. Like, the art that Maddie seems like she would have up in her place is like much more like positive, happy art. So I guess her husband's into Max Ernst, but like he doesn't seem like he would be into Max Ernst. And then also, if it's his painting, doesn't that kind of take away from it reflecting on her life with her mom? Like, he's just going to get this painting. So it like really, it's funny. I love to see it. I was like, oh my God, I'm always looking at the paintings in movies. And this is a famous painting. So, it's like early surrealism. It's just like, just bizarre. Like, how did that painting end up in their house? It's something that I feel like the filmmakers didn't think about. Like, yes, it makes sense for it to be in their house, but it doesn't make sense which of them would have brought it into their house. So, a little bit interesting. Just a fun little art tidbit there for you to think about and reflect on deeply. So, I hope you enjoyed my analysis of that film. I only talked about very important things. This is a podcast